name is Luz Marina Mia, and we are located in the municipality of Cubaral. We are a women's association in this municipality, and we transform the cocoa derivative into chocolate. Today we are at the farm La Fortuna in the Brisas del Donobo, village of Cubaral in the Meta. Now, I will tell you about the cocoa plantation project. In this farm, as you can see, we have banana, fruit trees, and also cocoa in some varieties. Here in this place, there is a specific place where we extract the cocoa nibs. Now I invite you to come in and learn about a part of the process that is important for chocolate. One of the steps is the fermentation, and then the transformation. To plant cocoa, the first thing to do is to make a seed bed. It is necessary to arrange the seeds, to adapt them well before planting cocoa. Then a hole is made in the ground. Fertilizers are used and then directly sow the cocoa plant. At 18 months, the plant begins to flower, and after about a year and a half, the first fruit appear. After this period, the cocoa begins to ripen, which means that the fruits grow and are ready to be harvested. As we have different varieties of cocoa, it is important to know that not all have the same point in the fruit to be harvested. There are purple, orange, and yellow cobs, but that depends on the variety of cocoa that we are using. When the fruit is ripe and ready to be harvested, all the cobs are collected and taken to a place where all the seeds are removed from the fruit. A material called mucilage is extracted, and finally, it is left in a box where the fermentation process takes place. The fermentation process is almost the end of all the stages, before it is put to dry. What I'm telling you is almost the whole process of cultivation. The development of the crop is suitable at an altitude of 1,400 meters above sea level. Here we have the cocoa pod. We proceed to spill it or open it in this way. In here she has the seeds. When it is already open, we take out this part, which is the shell, and this I show you are the cocoa beans. We started to take out all the grains in this way. We started to work in this way, and we left everything in the bucket. Just as we did with this fruit, we do it with the others. In this part, where the seeds are glued as you saw before, it is essentially used for fertilizer. This process is repeated in all the cobs or fruits that we have. When the container is full, we pass it to another place where we can begin to collect the music. But what is mucilage? It's this syrup or sticky cloth that has the cocoa nibs, or rather, it's like a kind of liquid. When I have a large amount of mucilage, it is possible to make vinegar and other derivatives from cocoa. It is necessary to have a large amount of it so that it drains on a canvas, and so all the matter comes out. This is the process of cocoa. There are several ways to split the fruit. It can be split lengthwise or in the middle of the cob. It is essential that this process is done carefully because the cocoa beans cannot be damaged. If the beans are cut or damaged, they are no longer suitable for fermenting. In some parts of the country, they do not use a machete or knife to open the fruit. In some areas, they use a stick with a specific shape and start hitting the fruit. So they avoid damaging the cocoa nibs and losing the cocoa. As you can see here, there are several colors in the cobs or fruits. They are yellow, purple, and other brown. That depends on the varieties that we have in this farm. My name is Christian and Kiso, and we are now at La Fortuna farm. Cocoa is generally grown at an altitude of 0 meters above sea level up to approximately 1,100 meters above sea level. As we are in the municipality of Cubaral, Meta, we are at an altitude of 800 meters above sea level. The ideal conditions to maintain a cocoa crop in this opportunity is that it does not have an excessive shade, in addition to having an ideal relative humidity so that pest and disease control is more effective. What we do on the farm is to look for the cycle of diseases, especially those that have to do with fungi. Here we have problems of Manila and Phytophthora, so what we seek is to control the affected fruits, to break the cycle of these diseases, and thus prevent the spores, or the so-called white powder, from proliferating in the crop and reaching other healthy fruits. What we do is a weekly control, and in this way we avoid the proliferation of diseases in the crop. How do we improve crop health? We usually prune or cut the trees, thus preventing the humidity from rising and creating an ideal environment for the development of fungi. This generates other ideal conditions such as good ventilation, good light entry, and thus minimizes pests and diseases such as monolanio. In addition, we always try to have puddles or concentrations of water so that the humidity conditions do not change, controlling pests and diseases. Cocoa cultivation in general, in these hillside conditions, does not require agricultural mechanization. What we always do here is not to use herbicides in order not to alter the biological and chemical conditions of the soil, and to have ideal circumstances to open the holes and plant the plants. Generally, what we do is to open the hole, apply a soil acidity corrector, and thus achieve an ideal root development in the early stages of cultivation. The hole must have a dimension of 40 by 40 plus another 40 centimeters deep. When it is ready, we use acidity corrector or lime that will act in the soil for about 2 weeks. After this, we do the planting. It is important to use a large amount of organic matter so that we achieve an ideal root development. Normally, a cocoa plant takes 18 months to start flowering, but it is necessary to take into account that this depends on the variety we are planting. In this case, what we are looking for is that the flower does not appear before the mentioned time, so that the plant develops properly during the first stages. Then, we can achieve that a crop, under ideal conditions, from the second year onwards, already has a uniform production, and thus achieve a production expected by the farmer. It is possible to identify disease with the naked eye. If a plant is vulnerable, we can see a particular coloration on the leaves of the trees. In the case of fruits, we can see that if there are pests, these are manifested with specific spots or stains on the cob. When there are diseases in cocoa, generally caused by fungi, what we find is a lump or protuberance in the cob with a change of color, as if it were a premature ripening. A physical consideration of this aspect is that the fruit is generally very heavy, and this is another sign of, in the case of the disease called Phytophthora, we find a spot that starts from the bottom to the top, or vice versa, of the fruit. It is a spot that seems to contain liquid, because to the touch the peel feels soft. With the development of any disease, what is produced is a white powder, which is where the spores of these conditions are. We as farmers are after breaking the disease cycles and cutting the spread of the diseases with the identification of that powder. A very important recommendation for cocoa producers is the management of frequent pruning. What is generally done is to have 2 prunings per year. In this way, we stimulate the growth of flowers and guarantee a lower impact of pests and diseases, so we can have more and better production. Another factor to take into account is the pH control. If we manage the acidity of the soil, we make available nutrients that are there and that due to a different pH are encapsulated and do not have direct action on it. With lime, for example, we ensure that plant absorbs nutrients and we will improve productivity. In addition, we can make applications of organic matter and manage fertilization plans in the soil. In addition, we can make applications of organic matter and manage fertilization plans in the soil. In addition to the above, we can have a soil analysis. This will be our guide, and so we know what kind of nutrients we should apply to our crop. At La Fortuna Farm, we are certified in good agricultural practices. We, as a family unit, are committed to organic fertilization because we are in transition from chemical to organic, taking advantage of the circular economy, taking advantage of the waste that comes from the farm to make fertilizers and improve productivity. We invite all producers to strengthen their crops by avoiding chemical applications in order to obtain quality, clean products that conserve natural resources and the environment.